Good morning. Just getting going here. It is Sunday morning, 5:33 a.m. I got to bed about 10:30, so that's about what 6.5 hours sleep. That's pretty good. Um, and I share that with you, and I'm talking a little bit quieter because my family's still asleep. But I share that with you because, and let me just make sure it's still getting my voice. That's good. So I look here to see that my voice is still being picked up. But I share, and I'm used to, like, it's a hazard of the occupation. I'm used to talking pretty loud, and that's because in a classroom I speak loud so that everybody can hear me. So it's a different state for me to talk, to teach in this quieter voice. Anyhow, we're going to go with the quieter voice so that people who are asleep can hopefully stay asleep. But I share all this with you Sunday morning, 5:30 a.m. Got up at 5. I share it because I want to model for you. This is part of the teaching about how to succeed as a student and how to succeed in life. But I share that with you because this is part of the modeling. This is part of the teaching. And you have to, it's not always clear. It's not always clear what you need to do and how you need to live to succeed. And so part of that is getting up and doing what you need to do, and you squeeze it in and fit it in where you could squeeze it in, and when you can fit it in, you do it. And anyhow, sharing that to be a role model and to teach you this also, like you have to do the work. You have to do the work. And if you want to succeed at a job digging a trench, they're going to give you a shovel, and you got to get out there and you got to do the work. And if you want to succeed, and if you don't do the work, if you don't dig that trench, they're going to be like, why didn't you do any digging? Or you only dug a little bit, it really required this much digging, this amount of digging, and you only did this amount of digging or this amount of digging. And it's the same with school and everything in life, right? Like to get through this class, it requires this amount of digging. And if you do this amount of digging, or only this amount of digging, or only this amount of digging, it's not going to work. You got to do this amount to get through the class. That's the analogy. And so here I am. I'm doing it. And you can do it too. All right, we're moving into chapter 9. And chapter 9 is going to be about hypothesis testing. And we're going to go through this here in a second. You can pause the video and just take a gander at it. And if you do take a gander at it, you're going to see population mean, population standard deviation known, and population mean, population standard deviation unknown. And you see me and hear me saying population mean and then population standard deviation. You hear me saying population twice. And the reason I'm saying population twice is because if we look at our little diagram, I'm going to go into my downloads, and here's my notation. Oh, I opened it up in Photoshop. I have my images set to default in Photoshop. I really want to open it with photos is what I want to open it with. And we'll close Photoshop here. Photoshop is just too big of a tool for the job. It's not what we're looking for. There we go. We just want to see the image. We don't want to edit it. And here in Photoshop, we have standard deviation for population is this notation. That's kind of a fun phrase. Standard deviation for a population is this notation. There's some nice alliteration in that. And standard deviation for a population is this notation. There's nice alliteration in that. And alliteration, define, I think that's it, is the occurrence of the same letter or sound at the beginning of adjacent or closely connected words. All right, so I don't know if it's at the beginning of adjacent or closely connected words, at the beginning of adjacent or closely connected words. So it's at the end we're doing that. I'm not sure what that would be at the end, but I think we know how to find out now, don't we? So I'm going to go to ChatGPT and say the definition of alliteration is boop, 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 doop, 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 is that. But is there a word to describe the same letter, a sound that occurs at the end of connected words. And we'll fix this definition. For instance, with, and what were we saying? Standard deviation, notation, and that is alliteration. What was the phrase? Let me think of it. Hold on. All right, it came back to me. Standard deviation, notation, population, right? So we say, here's the standard deviation, the notation for the population. So let's see if there's a word for that. Let's ask ChatGPT. Yes, the phenomenon you're describing, where the same or similar words occur at the ends of words, is known as consonance if the repeated sound is a consonant, or assonance if it's a vowel sound. However, for the repetition of entire syllables, especially at the end of words, the term rhyme can be used. In your example, deviation, notation, population, since the repeated sound occurs at the end and involves a similar vowel consonant combination, this could be classified as rhyme. Amazing. It's amazing. All right, now we're going to move forward. So you'll notice here that this chapter 9 has population mean, standard deviation known, population mean, population, standard deviation unknown. And in chapter 8, what we did was population mean, population standard deviation known for interval estimation, and population mean, population standard deviation unknown. And so to start chapter 9, we're in chapter 9, we're going to go back to chapter 8 and we're going to ask ChatGPT to give us an example problem of each of these and review this and do an example problem of each of these. And in doing that, just got to make sure I hit record. In doing that, good, I'm recording. We're going to solidify our skills, what we learned in chapter 8, because chapter 9 is going to be like 90%. I don't know, I'm just making up a percentage. 90% of everything we did in chapter 8 is exactly what we do in chapter 9. We're just laying a new concept on top of it. We're laying a new concept on top of it. So that's what we're going to do in chapter 9, is exactly what we did in chapter 8. Population mean, population standard deviation known and unknown. And we're just going to lay this new concept of hypothesis, whatever that word is, hypothesis testing on top of doing the same thing we did in chapter 8. So we'll do exactly what we did in chapter 8. We'll do that in chapter 9 to kind of test hypotheses, right? So we're going to see that coming up, starting right now.